It was early morning when the radar units at an airbase in northern India detected an unusual buildup of military activity near the border. Over the past few days, intelligence reports had indicated heightened alertness on both sides, but no one anticipated how quickly things would escalate. The Indian Air Force had dispatched 2 of its Rafale fighter jets for a routine patrol mission, a show of strength more than a prelude to conflict. These twin-engined, canard delta wing, multi-role fighter aircraft were among the most advanced in India's aerial arsenal, boasting precision-guided munitions, superior radar, and electronic warfare capabilities. Squadron leader Arjun Mehra and his wingman Flight Lieutenant Raghav Sharma had taken off from the Ambala airbase just before dawn, slicing through the morning fog and climbing above the clouds as they approached the line of control. Both pilots were seasoned veterans, having logged hundreds of hours in various aircraft, but even they knew the stakes were different this time. As their jets soared over the rugged terrain, their communications were calm, professional, but underlined by a tension that mirrored the rising hostilities on the ground. About 45 minutes into the flight, while cruising at high altitude near the contested airspace, the radar warning receiver in Arjun's Rafale began flashing. The alarm was unmistakable, a radar lock. Within seconds, his jet's electronic warfare suite kicked in, releasing countermeasures. He banked sharply to the left, trying to break the lock, but then the unthinkable happened. A missile, likely fired from a ground-based platform or possibly a long-range air-to-air system, struck the aircraft's rear fuselage. The explosion was immediate. Flames erupted from the tail section as the aircraft spun out of control. From his cockpit, Raghav witnessed the horrifying moment. His heart pounded as he called repeatedly on the comms, but there was no response. He saw the silhouette of Arjun's jet trailing fire as it disappeared behind a ridge. Moments later, a plume of black smoke rose from the valley below. The realization was unbearable, his comrade had gone down. Back at the operations control room, the mood shifted from routine to emergency within seconds. Monitors displayed telemetry loss, and communication with Arjun's aircraft was cut. An immediate rescue mission was launched, but this was complicated by the fact that the aircraft had crashed within Pakistani territory. Officials scrambled to analyze satellite imagery, diplomatic channels buzzed with tension, and both nations' military establishments were put on high alert. News of the incident spread rapidly. By mid-afternoon, Pakistani media began broadcasting footage of wreckage found near a remote village in the northern province. They claimed it to be parts of an Indian Rafale fighter jet. Pakistani military officials addressed a press conference, stating that the aircraft had violated their airspace and was engaged by their air defense system in a defensive response. They insisted they were within their rights to protect their territory and sovereignty. The Indian government, however, vehemently rejected those claims. The Ministry of Defense released flight path data suggesting the Rafale never crossed into Pakistani airspace. It accused Pakistan of a deliberate provocation and warned of appropriate and proportionate responses. Indian citizens, stunned by the downing of their prized fighter jet, took to social media in a storm of anger and nationalistic fervor. Protests broke out in major cities, and military analysts debated the implications on television for hours. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, back-channel diplomacy began to work overtime. Both countries were nuclear-armed, and the memory of past escalations loomed heavily over the situation. The top priority, however, was the fate of squadron leader Mehra. Had he ejected in time? Was he alive? After 2 tense days, footage emerged showing a man in flight gear, blindfolded and in custody. The Pakistani military confirmed they had recovered the pilot alive and were holding him for questioning. This revelation became the focal point of international attention. Calls for restraint and humanitarian treatment of the pilot came pouring in from global leaders and organizations. The United Nations offered to mediate. Inside India, the pilot's family was placed under tight security. His wife, Anika Mehra, addressed the nation through a heartfelt message asking for his safe return and urging both countries to avoid war. Her voice quivered but remained steady, echoing the voice of countless families on either side of the border who feared what could happen next. Eventually, after several rounds of diplomatic negotiations and increasing international pressure, Pakistan announced that the pilot would be returned as a gesture of peace. The moment he crossed the Wagah border and was handed back to Indian authorities, the nation erupted in applause and tears. But the questions remained: why did the Rafale go down? Was it a lapse in protocol? A failure in the aircraft's defense system? Or had geopolitical dynamics already made such an incident inevitable? In the weeks that followed, a joint investigative report was proposed by international observers, though both sides maintained their respective narratives. The incident left a scar in the fragile relationship between the two countries. Military strategy underwent scrutiny, the role of modern aerial warfare was questioned, and citizens on both sides were left wondering how close they had come to a larger catastrophe. Squadron leader Mera, after debriefing and medical recovery, chose a quieter role in the force, away from the front lines. His story became the subject of debate, inspiration, and even a forthcoming film. But the shadow of that morning flight never left him. Every time he closed his eyes, he could see the missile lock warning, hear the explosion, and remember the helpless spin of his Rafale plunging into enemy territory. Though the skies eventually cleared and the political wind settled, the memory of that jet, symbol of pride, power, and precision, destroyed in the mountains of Pakistan, remained a haunting testament to how close the world always hovers near the edge.